Hey, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm Tamara Monosoff, and I am delighted that you're here. And today's webinar is how to turn your great idea into the next big thing. And I really am thrilled that you're joining me today. And please go ahead and type into the chat and let me know if you can hear me and if you can see me. It's really important because I'm going to dive right into the content, and I want to make sure that you don't miss a thing. And so if you will jump into the chat, I recognize that if you're on your phone or on your iPad, you won't be able to participate in the chat. But if you are online, please go ahead and put your name in. I'm going to just jump over there right now and make sure that all is well. And okay, good. Hi, Lou, Chrissy, Kimberly, Sherry, Monet, Marnita, Dolly, Lee, Diane, Prosopio, I hope I've said that correctly. Betty, Stacy, Melody, Robert. We have so many people joining us today. I think there's almost over 100 people on this call. So fired up that you're here, and good. You're letting me know that you can hear. You can hear. Woohoo! Time capsule. Fantastic. Okay, perfect timing. So this is what we're going to do. We are going to jump right in. I'm jumping back over here. We are going to jump right into the content. For those of you who know me well, you know that I am going to pack this webinar with real information that you can use immediately, no matter where you are in the process. I'm going to cover a lot. We're going to go for 90 minutes, meaning 60 minutes. I'll try to do it faster, right? I'm going to talk really fast. I'm going to try to get you in between 45 minutes and 60 minutes, a ton of information so that you can leave here today with action steps that you can take immediately. And then we will open it up to question answer. This is what I'd like to ask you though. When you think of your question, type it into the chat immediately. At the end, I will just dive in and start answering as many questions as I can. So don't hold off until the end to do that, okay? So with that said, I'm thrilled that you're here, and we're gonna just jump right into this webinar. I'm gonna share my screen with you right now, and it's how to turn your great idea into the next big thing. And in a moment, whoops, let me present this to everyone. You should be able to see my screen right now. Let me know if you are not seeing my screen or if there are any issues, okay? But you should be seeing my screen right now. And this is one of my clients, Wrist Readers. You may have seen me write blogs about this recently, and I'll tell you about her in just a moment. And Michelle, if you're on here right now, be sure and jump in and say hi as well. Okay, so let me jump in. For those of you, I know some of you have worked with me for years and have attended my classes, but there are many new people on this webinar, which I really welcome you. And just, I'm not going to go through my whole slide about my background, but I will tell you just a few things about myself. I consider myself a social entrepreneur. I am passionate about helping entrepreneurs really achieve your goals, and not only achieve your goals, but provide you with clear steps and a roadmap. I know when I started my business over a decade ago, all I wanted was someone to tell me what steps to take. And so that's what I now dedicate 100% of my time is to giving you steps, information, and resources so that you will succeed more quickly than I did. I want you to succeed. I want you to be aware of challenges that may be in the road so that you can be prepared for bringing your product to market. I am the #1 Amazon best-selling author. I also created the Mom Invented consumer brand of products. I've sold on QVC, and I have sold in thousands of retail stores nationwide. I've also had the good fortune of being featured on hundreds of media outlets over the past decade. And so with that said, that's a little snapshot of my background. I'm going to dive right in to really the focus of today. The reason why I'm going to show you a few of the people that I've worked with personally, who've used my books, taken my classes. I'm going to show you because I want you to know that this is real. If you have a product idea, this can be you. Why not? We are all just regular people, and we have had ideas and we've brought them to market. This is Tiffany Crummins. She used my book, The Mom Inventor's Handbook, and she was the first woman to receive funding on Shark Tank for her product called Ava, the elephant, a medicine dispenser to help children take their medicine. I just mentioned Michelle. This brings me a lot of pleasure because she just exceeded her goal on Kickstarter on her crowdfunding campaign. I believe it was just last week that she exceeded her goal, even a few days before the deadline, which was pretty awesome. These are wrist readers, which are magnetic, that you wear around your wrist so you don't lose them. Also thrilled, I think Ruby, you're on this call today. Hello, Ruby. And Ruby has the Easy Pack, which she has also exceeded her financial goal on Kickstarter campaign, which is awesome. And Ann Hurley, Ann, if you are here, shout out to us. She has Love Chicken Booster Seats, and as you can see, that is to help kids sit up at the table. She's in Babies R Us and doing a test right now in Sam's Club, which is so exciting. And finally, Tony, if you're here, say hi. Sasquatch Pet Beds. Tony used my book to bring his product to market. And so my point in showing you these is really to show you that this is possible for you as well. So the flow of today's webinar, we're going to talk about licensing, market research, product pricing, prototyping, patenting, funding, selling to retail. I am going to give you a special offer today for attending, and we'll talk about that as well. So with that said, we're going to dive in. I know I'm going to be talking fast, but I really want to give you as much as I can because I recognize that you're at all different stages. So my goal was so that you could walk away today with some piece of information for wherever you are in the process that can help you get to your next step. Okay, so with licensing, there's really two paths. There's manufacturing your product, and then there's licensing, which is selling your idea to another manufacturer. So what is a licensing agreement? It's essentially just a contract between you, the inventor, and another person or a company, which is or another manufacturer that produces and distributes products in the same category, right? So if you had a kitchen gadget, you'd want to contact a company that is already making similar type items. To assume responsibility to develop and sell your product, and they are given the rights to your idea, your patents, your copyrights, your trademarks, whatever assets you have, you actually sign them over to your partner, your licensing partner. So why do this? Maybe you are an idea person. You love ideas. They pop into your head all the time, and you want to benefit from those ideas, but you may not want to go into business yourself. Maybe you don't have the financial resources, and you know that another company would make the perfect partner because they already have similar type items, and your product is the next logical thing to add to their product line, that their already existing product line. And that you know that if you worked with them, they'd get it to market much more quickly. Or, and this is something I want you to think about, it's really, I have to tell you honestly, licensing agreements sound really simple, but they aren't. They take a long time. I've been on both sides of the table. I have licensed my brand to another major company, and I've also licensed products from other inventors. These take sometimes a year to work out all the kinks, and sometimes even longer. And so I just want you to know it's not an easy process, and if others have led you to believe that it is, I want you to have a realistic understanding of the process. One of the best ways to get a licensing agreement is for you to bring your product to market and prove it. Prove that it's successful. Prove that you're generating sales, and then that way, that prospective licensing partner is going to want to grab it. They're saying, wow, she's already selling? My gosh, I want that. It's hot, okay? So that's just something to think about. So I'm just going to show you, this is the road of the manufacturing process. And also when you're licensing, I want you to be aware of it. If you do decide to go down the licensing road, whether it's at the beginning or later, your understanding of market research the materials that you could use to produce the product, you know, how you can protect your idea, where you can get funding, all these different steps. If you understand it, you are going to be so much better off in terms of your negotiations. You're going to already know, like, let's say they say, oh, well, the manufacturing costs are going to be X, and you've done your homework and you actually have a factory that you know could make it for $3 less, then you are going into the bargaining table so much more well prepared, because you're going to be able to say, you know what, actually, it can be produced for this much using this material. You see what I'm saying? So if you go through this process, you know, even if you decide not to manufacture, if you've done your homework, you know what the costs are, you're going to be in a much more powerful bargaining position. So actually, let me go back there for a second. So the road to manufacturing is you're going to study your market. You're going to discover great materials for your product. You're going to protect your idea. You're going to find money. You're going to make the goods. You're going to land retail accounts, and you're going to broadcast that news through social media, regular media. And it all involves taking action, because if you have a good idea, other people have likely had that same idea. So it really depends on who is taking action first. So the goal really is to discover if your product is hot or not. And that is done through market research. And I will say that even if you are down the road in your process, let's say you're already in the prototyping stage, you're already in the manufacturing stage, wherever you are, I suggest that you take some time and back up and do this part of the process. This is the most important step, yet is the most commonly skipped by entrepreneurs. Why? First of all, we don't know how to do the market research, really. And it's not as fun, right? I say this with all honesty because I have felt this way myself, that you're super excited about your idea. You may even keep you up at night. You're so excited about it. And you don't want to do market research. You want to dive in, start making the prototype, and make that thing and get it out to market. I totally understand this, because that's the fun part. But I promise you that if you take these steps with market research, you're going to feel so much more confident, and your decisions moving forward are going to be changed, because you're going to find things out in your market research that you otherwise would not have known. Trust me, I have learned this now from years and years of experience. So experts always say to do your market research, but they don't show you how. So I want to just walk you through, obviously this is I'm summarizing through this whole presentation. You know, we're not going really, really deep, but at least I want to get you thinking about these things. So with market research, the most important thing is to recognize that your product is not your baby. People get, I know, really attached because you've spent so much effort and time and research and money, and you know, you've put so much of your heart into your product. But it's important to be objective. Your baby loves you back, but your product will not love you back. And that is just the truth. So I want you to really think about your product objectively. In fact, I want you to go so far as to imagine that you are an employee for Procter & Gamble, that your boss has tasked you with evaluating a new product idea, and that's your product. But I want you to think of it as a product idea that Procter & Gamble is thinking about pursuing or not. And it's your job to make a sound recommendation to your boss. I mean, think about that, really. And so why should Procter & Gamble invest? What research do you have to back up this recommendation? I want you to imagine that your job is on the line, and I want you to imagine that for yourself. When you're bringing your product to market, you want to be thinking this objectively, and that it's this important, okay? So part of market research is big picture information. And here are some resources that really can help you. First of all, there is census.gov, which can give you some kind of big sweeping information. I find it to be really clunky and hard to find, but I want at least you to be aware of this information. I find the most valuable information to be through trade association websites. So your professional association that would be associated with your product type. So JPMA is the Juvenile Products Manufacturing Association. That would be for kids products. Housewares.org is for housewares items. American Pet Products, that is for pet products. Pro Beauty is for beauty products. There is an association for nearly any kind of product out there. So you just have to search your association plus your product type, and then you will find it. Another great way to find information is to put statistics plus and then your product type, and just put that into Google and you'll be amazed at what pops up. Another thing that is hardly ever explored, and it's probably one of the hottest resources that you can find, are through public companies. It's their 10K investor reports. If you go to a public company website, and they have investors and they have to do these quarterly reports. They hire experts to do market research. In these quarterly reports, they will break it down not only by your market and talk about it, but they also talk about trends going forward. And you'll be able to see if there are growth trends. And I cannot emphasize this enough. This is one of the most amazing resources that you can use right now to find concrete data already synthesized by a professional for you to use. So if nothing else, go find a 10K report in your area that your product fits into. You can also go to zoominfo.com and find really good information about companies. I'm going to show you a little more about that in just a minute. So here is Beastie is a great invention of the sisters who invented this. They used my book to bring their product to market. When they started, they just had one version, and now they've got a whole bunch. This is to dry out your wet electronics. And so what was interesting about the Beastie is that this is the process that they went through when they started. They were asking the question. It started out with their personal need. Then they pulled their friends and family to see if they had gotten their cell phones wet. And then they did internet searches with wet cell phone methods for drying wet cell phones. And they realized that nearly everyone that they knew had either had dropped their own phone and gotten it wet, or knew somebody who had. And then their big picture research revealed that there are 300 million cell phones in the US, and that 1 in 3 will get wet. That's 100 million wet cell phones. You see, so when you have a piece of data like this, it really gives you more confidence because you know what you're talking about. This will also help you if you're going to get a licensing, try to seek a licensing agreement. You need to know this information. It'll help you later on in your sales when you're talking and to retail stores. It'll help you when you go on TV and talk about your product. That just having the facts really does help give you credibility, as well as give you the confidence moving forward. So that's the big picture data. Just one more piece of data. Just to show you, this was on the Pet, I told you about the Pet Association website. In like not even 3 minutes, like 2 minutes, you can go to a website and find this type of data. So imagine if you have a pet product, you can see that 68% of the households in America own a pet, and that equates to 82.5 million homes. And what I love this is because they break it down even further. So if you only are selling a product for dogs, you can see there are 56.7 million households with dogs. So you see why this is important. And it does not take a lot of time, but it will give you a framework for your big picture market research. However, this is where most entrepreneurs stop. They go, oh, great. Well, even if I have a fraction of that, that's good enough for me. I want you to dig deeper. Once you have big picture data, you need to go directly to the consumer. You need to do surveys, interviews, focus groups, or intercepts. You don't have to do them all. I'm just giving you some examples of things you can do. And this way you can dig deeper and ask your consumers or prospective consumers point blank, if they experience the problem that your product solves, if this is something they would buy, if not, why not, what would they change, do they like the colors, or which color is their favorite to choose from, what materials do they like, how much would they pay for it, what stores would they expect to find it in. I think you get my point, that this is the time where you're really asking consumers if this is something that they would buy. And intercept, I think these are pretty self-explanatory. You can use tools like SurveyMonkey to do surveys. Interviews, you can just do, interview different people. Like for example, like if you have let's just say, you love hiking and you've got an accessory to help hikers and you're part of a hiking group or club. This is where you could just interview people in your club, just, kind of impromptu interviews, and ask them the same questions, though. You want to make sure that you're asking everybody the same questions so that you can tabulate your data. Focus group is just what I say informal, is having a group beyond your friends. So if you want to have a friend maybe host it for you, but then you ask your friends to bring a friend or two friends that you do not know. You want to make sure your friends are going to be super supportive, and family too. So you've got to make sure that other people are weighing in that you do not know. Intercepts are what's just a term used for, it's kind of like stopping people on the street type interviews. And I know that sounds really like scary, but I'll give you a quick story of how I did it successfully. I was taking my kids out to ice cream, and I was developing a product. It was in my purse, and I was it was after school. It was a beautiful day, and all these little kids and parents are sitting around. I mean, there were like 20 parents, and all of a sudden I thought, oh my gosh, this is exactly the target audience for my product. I need to seize the moment. So I leapt to my feet, I introduced myself, I asked them for just a few minutes of their time, and I pulled out my product and I showed them and asked them those questions that I mentioned earlier, that this is something they would use and so on. And everyone was so excited to be asked their opinion. They loved it, just being asked for their feedback. I was totally open with them, saying, listen, I want the truth. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I would rather know if you would buy this or not, because if it's not, I don't want to spend the money developing it. So just to lay that out, you don't want people just to please you in this situation. So that's what intercepts are. Complaints. I want you to view complaining as an opportunity. I get so excited when I see people complaining online. So for example, if you go online and you type in complaint about the problem that your product solves, let's say, or solution for, or blog about, and just type in about the product, the problem that your product solves, or the subject of your product, or what your product is, reviews on, if you put these in and people are complaining, that is good news for you, especially if your product solves this problem for people. So I just get so excited when I see that people are complaining, because I truly believe that when you listen to complaints, that's your opportunity right there. And I just want to give you a tip to use a variation on words. I had someone say, they were putting the word textile in, nothing was coming up. They were feeling very frustrated. And so I said, well, just type in the word apparel. And of course, everything just opened, the floodgates just opened up. So get your thesaurus out or synonym finder and use different words to describe, or ask somebody, friends of yours, to describe your product to them, so you could come up with other words that you just may not be thinking of, that seem really obvious to you, but may not be for others. Okay, as part of your market research, you must know the competition. So find competitive products. You search in online stores, actually physically walk into small mom and pop shops. You want to go into the big box stores like the Walmarts, the Targets, search on Amazon, Google, Alibaba, which is a global marketplace. You've got to search everywhere for your product. And then you have to ask yourself, when you look at the existing products, is your product different enough? In other words, if Walmart is carrying a similar type product, why would they take away a product that they've already put on their store shelves to replace it with yours? you really must have the answer to this question and ask yourself if it's different enough for consumers and retailers to notice yours and want yours over the competition. And another place you can look for competitors if you're having a hard time is ZoomInfo, as I mentioned earlier. You can use ZoomInfo for free, by the way. There is a paid version, but you can, if you go to the very top, this is kind of chopped off, but it says Find Contacts. You click on Find Contacts. This will be for free. Then you go over here and see how I typed in Central right here. The Central Garden and Pet, they sell garden items and pet products. And if you look down here, and first of all, this is a great way to get their corporate information. So, and their contact information, really great way to get their corporate. Because sometimes when you go to websites, they don't put those corporate details on there. And then here's where related companies are. Here are their top competitors. And each one of these are live links. And when you click on there, then their top competitors pop up. Really fast, efficient way to find competitors. Excuse me, let me take a sip of water. Okay, so I just want you to be aware of that awesome resource. Okay, so now in your market research, we're digging deeper. And I want you to be thinking about pricing. You can do this before you've brought your product to market, because now we're talking about getting estimations of your product's production costs, and you need to know this. So if you're already in production, then you're going to have real numbers to work with, right? But if you're in the early stages and you don't know, this is the process that I go through myself. So I want you to understand the steps that I take to look at the price range and the production costs. I'm going to walk you through these steps. So right here, let's just say I'm developing a new gardening trowel. And here I found through Plow and Hearth, they sell it for, I'm going to just round it up, close to 10 bucks. On Walmart, we're talking about, an $18. Here, Williams Sonoma's got one for almost 25, and also a high-end copper version for 60. That's a big range right there, between $10 and $60. But so I'm looking at these as my competitors, okay? Then you want to go to global resources like Alibaba.com or globalsources.com, because I can promise you that, or most products, or many products are made outside of the US. And this is just the reality. If you go to Walmart, majority of the products are made outside of the US. So in order to get your pricing, just to understand what's possible for you, I want you to just consider getting the pricing this way. So jump onto these websites, and this is what you're going to see. So I typed in garden trowel, and all different resources came up. This is just one of them. And I want you to see that the price per unit is about $1.30 to $2.30 per unit, depending on how many you order. So the price goes down based on volume. Okay, you see that they have a minimum order of 1,000 pieces. Also, just for you, if you've not done this before, FOB means freight on board price, which means that this price does not include shipping from China to the US. So you'd have to find out the cost to ship through a freight forwarding company, and then take that number and divide it by the number of units that you purchase, and you'll add that money onto each unit per, like let's say it's 1,000 pieces. Then you're going to find out how much it's going to cost to ship, and then you're going to divide it by the 1,000 pieces, and that will add a few cents on per unit, okay? So here I just want to give you an idea of this, all right? And then you would think about your trowel. Think about my gardening trowel for a second. I want to take the most conservative price. Remember right here, the least expensive is $10. So I'm just going to do that, assuming that our consumers are price sensitive, that there's no way that you can imagine that they'd pay 60 bucks for your product. Let's just say that it's realistic to think that they would pay $10 for it. And so I'm going to take this price point too. I'm going to just take an average of $2 per unit, okay, for production. So here is the $10 price point. If we're going to sell it wholesale, you're going to just divide that number in half. Okay, so if you're selling to retailers, they're going to expect you to sell it to them for $5 per unit. So this is now how much you have is $5 minus your production costs, which I just showed you through Alibaba, is $2. Okay, that means you've got $3 left over for you. That's gross profit margin. So that's about a 60% gross margin. That's a healthy margin, by the way. You want 50% or higher. And one of the ways you can do this really quickly in your head, or not in your head, but if you've already got your production costs nailed down, your production cost should be 20% of your retail price. So you can take your suggested retail price and divide it by 5, and that'll give you your production cost. Okay, that's a formula, super simple formula that you can use to help you figure out the pricing or estimated pricing for your product. I hope that helps. That would have really helped me when I started, so I'm hoping that'll help you. So the market research puzzle really is divided into 4 things. One is the big picture data. Are there enough people who will buy the product? That's like the big numbers that I just showed you, like the however many pets, I think it was 54 million pets in America, or dogs in America. Okay, what do people honestly think about your product? That's your more specific research where you're actually asking consumers or prospective consumers if they would buy your product and what they would change, what they like and don't like, what your competition looks like, and then the pricing with your estimates. Can you make money with that price point? Okay, so those are just kind of different pieces of the market research puzzle. So I'm hoping that was helpful. If you find that after you've gone through those steps, you're like, wow, okay, good news. Production costs work. People are loving this thing. I just had to make some tweaks. People didn't like the color I had, so I'm changing the color. And there's enough people out there, big picture data. Now it's a go. So now it's time to have some fun and to start with your prototyping. And some of you may already be in that phase or past that phase, but hopefully you'll think about some potentially new things in this discussion. So each of your journeys that you're taking will be unique, right? Because you've got your own unique product that is different from what already exists. But essentially, these steps are the same. And I always like to go back to what is the problem that your product is solving. Now, that's not always going to be like if you've got some cool scarf that you want to sell or produce, that's not going to be solving somebody's problem. And I understand that. But for the most part, it's thinking about how to make people's lives easier. And of course, the positioning with a scarf would be how to look fabulous. And here are the 5 things my scarf can do that no other scarf can do, that kind of thing. So thinking about what problem your product solves or how yours is different and will change people's lives in a positive way. So just to give you a rundown of the language that's used, there are essentially 4 different types of prototypes. There's hard goods, soft goods, formulators, and food. So hard goods are the hard things, like the items made out of plastic, wood, metal, rubber, electronics. This is how I've made things out of hard goods. And then there are soft goods, which are items that are made out of fabric, that are cut and sewn. Beddings, curtain, handbags, toys, plush toys, towels, our clothing, right? Formulators are things that you have to hire a chemist to help you with, like hand sanitizer, cleaning agents, pet food, or vitamins, because you have to deal with things like spoilage, okay? I just thought of Method as an example of that. Method brand, I'm not sure if you're familiar, it's an organic brand that I use, and it's for household products. And then there's food, and you need to deal with recipes and hire chefs, or you are the chef initially, but if you grow really big, you're gonna have to hire a chef. Spoonful of Comfort was featured in my last book, and there's a really interesting interview in my last book, The Mom Inventor's Handbook, where she ships chicken soup to sick people all over the country. Never in her wildest dreams did she realize how difficult that would be, because apparently there are all different rules and restrictions with shipping chicken across state borders. So she had to do massive research to do that and get some professional help. So I just want to give you this, just an overview of what these different types of prototyping, the materials that you'd be using. The key with your prototype is to take your time. I think we like to rush this because we're so eager and excited to get our product to market that we rush this part. And I'm really asking you to take your time, because your product works perfect in your mind, right? But when you start actually physically making it, you realize that there may be some flaws in your thinking that you couldn't possibly have known existed until you started making it. So it's really important to take time during this process to tweak your prototype until it performs well, it looks fantastic, it incorporates the feedback from your market research from people who said that they would buy it. So if they told you that there's no way they would buy it unless a certain feature was fixed, which happened to me with my first product, the TP Saver, which prevents kids from pulling the toilet paper. One mom said during the market research, during a focus group, she said, you know, my kid could choke on that cap. Well, I was, of course, immediately alarmed, went straight back to the engineer and redesigned the entire cap. And thankfully, I was still in the prototype stage. I had not manufactured anything. And I learned also through my research that there were federal safety laws around choking hazards. And so I had to really redesign it based on those specifications. So there are things that you really need to take care of and really listen to people's feedback so that you put the very best product out there on the market. Also, the key is to keep it simple. You know, I love brainstorming. And so I always think of brainstorming as an expansion and contraction, meaning you let yourself go wild with your thinking and expand and all the bells and whistles you can possibly think of. And then after you do that, then you contract and bring it in, because everything that you do, it adds cost to production. So you want to expand and explore, and then you want to simplify because it will add more money and complexity to the production, and that could end up making your product too expensive to produce. Oh, and by the way, just a note with that, be sure and if you've got 5 bells and whistles on your product, during your market research, make sure to ask consumers which of those features are most important, because something that you think is just has to be on there may not be what people really care about. Even though you think it's important, they might think that another feature you have is much more important. That's what you need to nail down. You really need to find out what's important to them, even if it's contrary to what you think. This is 3D printing. I'm sure you're aware of it, but it did not exist when I was developing products. It's amazing what you can do. So if you have a plastic product, you can design it with a CAD is a computer-aided drawing. You have someone design that for you in a 3D, and then you pop that into that machine on the top right, and it will actually produce your product. Even that dress is made out of plastic in a 3D machine. So I just want you to know, and that really helps you identify flaws from the beginning. So before you go into mass production, I mean, when I went into mass production, I had to seriously hold my breath because I had no ideas if we were going to encounter flaws in production. Now you can oftentimes identify those flaws ahead of time. Okay, now I know we're moving so crazy fast through everything, but I'm really wanting to cover as much as possible. So we're gonna keep on cranking. I'm glad you're posting your questions. I promise I'll get to as many as I can in the end. So I'm just gonna not take a lot of time on legal, and I know that we've got more exciting things to talk about, like retail and how to get into retail stores coming up, but I am gonna touch on just a few things. First of all, I think you probably already know I am not a lawyer. I'm just speaking from my own experience. I have both utility patents and design patents. I've been knocked off over and over again. So my patents have been of little value And so I really look at this in a very different way. I think it's a misperception that people think they have to have a patent in order to make money with your product. That is not true. It may be, in some cases it may be true, but it is not necessarily true, okay? Because as I said, there are a lot of products out there that are not patented that are being sold in the mass retail chains. And, you know, it gets to a point where it's really how you market, how aggressively you're out there marketing, because like I said, I've been knocked off over and over again. So what is a patent? It's really just a grant from the government that gives you the right as the inventor to prevent others from making, using, selling, and importing your product. They can't offer your product for sale. And so there's just a few things to consider. A patent is a tool. That's how I see it. And it may or may not be useful. It is definitely not required. So you need to speak to an attorney to find out what your options are around a patent. And what's interesting is a patent doesn't cover the entire product. It covers one aspect or some aspects of the product, how it functions, how it's put together. It functions of the product. It is not the entire product itself. I have found trademarks and copyrights to be far more powerful. Trademarks in particular have been amazing in that there are really strict laws, and it doesn't cost nearly as much to get a trademark. Copyrights are more for printed materials. Trademarks, however, for your brand name. So for example, I had a product that was, someone infringed on my trademark. Actually, I've had it happen a couple of times. And they said they used the exact same title of my product, but they just misspelled it. Like they spelled love, L-U-V, instead of L-O-V-E. And I was able to have my attorney send out one note, and they were required to remove them from store shelves. So really helpful. With a patent, there are no patent police. In my case, up against huge corporations who have legal teams on site, there's no way I could have gone up against them. So I decided to spend my money on marketing instead of on patents. Okay, again, get advice from your professional lawyer. And let me just say this. I found that initially I worked with lawyers who really were lawyers who filled out patent forms, right? I found over time that I had to work with lawyers who had business savvy, who could help think strategically. So I started working with lawyers. One lawyer in particular that I worked with recently, he has a business law background as well as a patent background. And the beauty of that is that he gets the business side of things. So I want you to realize that patent attorneys, sure, they're going to tell you some aspect of your product is patentable or not, but that it's not really just about that. It's about, does this make sense to spend $5 grand on this? Is it going to be strong enough to prevent others from knocking me off? So these are the questions that really need to be asked. So just really quick, a utility patent applies to the structure or operation, and a design patent is really the aesthetic, how it looks. A perfect example of this is an iPhone. Your iPhone, the outside design, the curved corners, the whole look and feel, that is a design patent. The utility is what's going on the inside, okay? You can also get a provisional patent application, which is powerful. A provisional patent application is not a patent, but it's a placeholder. It gives you 12 months where people don't know what you've applied for, and after the 12 months is up, you can then decide whether to get a utility patent. So a provisional patent application is a wonderful placeholder that gives you 12 months to do your market research, to figure out your production costs, and to figure out if indeed you're going to move forward with the product. I say this too because a lot of people will go forward with a patent, and then they find out there's all sorts of problems with their product, and then they don't end up bringing that product to market, or they've made so many changes to their product that their patent is now no longer of any value because you've made so many changes that you now have to now spend thousands of dollars on an addendum to your patent. So it's really better to do your market research first and get your feedback from consumers first before you do this, because you're going to make all sorts of tweaks and modifications that now, if you decide to get a patent, you can include in your patent. Okay? With that said, I'm going to talk to you about funding because I am so fired up about funding. It is easier today than ever before to get funding. I'm going to barely scratch the surface, but again, my intention is to give you real content and information you can use. So the key really is to know where to look for the money. Crowdfunding, as you've seen, if you're on my email list, I've had some recent clients just nail their crowdfunding campaigns. It is so exciting. So with that said, I just want you to be aware of that not all crowdfunding platforms are the same. And I want you to really pay attention to this as you're learning about crowdfunding, if this is a road you're going to explore, because there are different kinds. So there's contribution, which is when people give you donations. They're not expecting money back. And then there's investment crowdfunding platforms, which are, you provide an equity stake. What does that mean? They're going to give you money, but these are investors, and they expect to earn a percentage of ownership in your company. So clearly, you want to know the difference of which type is that you're participating in. And I highly suggest that you do donations rather than give anyone an equity stake in your company. Unless it's a high-tech endeavor, like if you're doing like the next iPhone or some app or something like that, then it may make sense to get investors in that way. But for more of a consumer product, like a kitchen gadget or something, I highly suggest that you do the contribution model. But you need to explore what is best for you. Okay, just so you know what some of the advantages of crowdfunding, you raise money quickly. Wrist Readers, I think she got her full, over $20,000 in a week. I mean, awesome, right? You get cash without giving away your business. Your financial risk is shared, so it's not all on you. You have a built-in marketing tool. You're out there. If people are contributing, then they're saying, whoa, I love that, right? And that is a great marketing tool for you. You're proving your business concept and model. Again, if nobody gives you $1 during your crowdfunding campaign, then you may have to rethink whether your product is hot or not, right? So it's really important because this is an opportunity for you to get clear feedback from the public. You're building loyal fans. They're going to be cheering for you. They want to see your product out in the market. They're helping support you financially. And the beauty is you get free publicity. Michelle, if you're on here, Michelle was just on TV for the first time. I mean, when you're out there on the crowdfunding campaign and it's going well, you're going to hear from the media. Here are just some names of some different crowdfunding platforms that you can go explore. So there's Kickstarter and Indiegogo, Crowdfunder, Crowdsupply, Fundable, Rocket Hub. I'm not going to go into all the differences and nuances right here in this free webinar, but I will just say that they all have their advantages, and so really do take the time to explore which one makes the most sense to you. Okay, so let's just talk really quickly about what makes a successful crowdfunding campaign. Passionate videos. If you have a video that's super clear and passionate and you've got clear goals, people don't want to give you money if you are all over the map. If you express clear goals of what you are going to use that money for, the money that people donate to you, you're going to have a much better result. And then if you offer attractive rewards. So if your product is really inexpensive to make, you can give that product away. I think Michelle, again, I'm not sure if Michelle, if you're on here or not, but Michelle, if someone contributed like $500 to her campaign, they got to have one of her wrist reader glasses in every color. And again, if your product is too expensive, you can be creative where you just post your contributors on your website, or you do a shout out on social media, or you have a t-shirt made and on the back you print all of the contributors and then send each contributor a t-shirt. Okay, I'm just making that up. just think creatively about what might be of value to them and what would make them want to give you more, support you and give you, do a higher level of support. Like Michelle did. She got several contributors at $500 because they wanted a pair of her glasses in every color. Okay, alternative funding resources that most entrepreneurs don't ever even think about are microloans. These are not through traditional banks. They are so much easier to get. And they are through nonprofit organizations that have been tasked with helping support entrepreneurs. There's the Kiva Step Ahead loan, so definitely check it out. And they give between $5,000 and $10,000. The Kiva Zip, by the way, is brand new. I already know somebody who successfully got funding through Kiva Zip. It's set up very similar to crowdfunding. They're not loans, but donations, and so check that out. I mean, she said she had the money, I kid you not, like in 24 hours. It was something crazy fast. TMC Working Solutions, I got a loan for $25,000 through TMC and loved how supportive they were. They always checked in to see how I was doing. And this was, I think TMC though is for Bay Area businesses only, San Francisco Bay Area. They may have changed that, so you can definitely check that out. Axion USA gives up to $50,000 in flexible terms for small businesses. You can be in business for only up to 6 months, whereas if you go in for a traditional bank loan, they're going to want to see your financials for 3 years at a minimum. Opportunity Fund is for small business loans for low-income entrepreneurs who don't qualify for traditional loans, from $2,000 to about $100,000. I couldn't believe it went up to $100,000. This is what I'm telling you. This is an incredible opportunity. If you've not considered micro loans, please do. This really helped me out when I was needing money fast for production runs. My business built up so fast, and I was getting purchase orders for like 25,000 units a week from one retail customer. It was crazy. I was like scrambling. So you need to be able to pay for the production runs, right, in order to keep up with the orders. Okay, so the goal is to also get your product into retail, and I want to give you some really helpful tips that you may not have considered so that you can make more money. Before we do, I want to jump in and tell you something. Because you're here today, I want to offer you something awesome, totally amazing for you participating. So you may already know that I have 3 programs, totally comprehensive step-by-step programs that I offer. They're online, they're video trainings. The How Hot Is Your Product program is available on my website now for $197, and they're all video modules. So you click, watch the video. Each one has their own workbook, so you can keep your notes totally organized. Plus, I give you all the resources that support the course. The Ultimate Product Launch System takes you through all of these steps: market research, through prototyping, detailed into manufacturing, more into the patenting, trademarking. We get into, we also get into much deeper into funding and into video marketing and also other marketing strategies, and we touch on sales. Then we get Product Sales Boot Camp, which is like really intense, where I don't teach you just how to go through the front door. I teach you how to go through the back door, the basement, the rooftop, every which way imaginable to sell your products. So you can see that this is how much I sell them online. And this is what it looks like. So when you get logged into our system, that you have, each course is considered a package. And so you get all 3 packages, and then you click on modules and it breaks it down, and you click, and then you're able to watch the video and get whatever resources I have. I have tons of bonuses in there as well. And so you'd start here, and this is where I welcome you, and then this is where you get your margin calculator to help you with your product pricing, your prototype and manufacturing list of real manufacturers and factories that have been shared by my clients and students over years. So this is not just like random Googled factories. These are actually factories that are in use. And then this is what it looks like when you click on a module. That's where you would jump in and you get this really very comprehensive program. So this is what I'm going to give you as part of this process, as part of being a part of this webinar. And you will also get these bonuses. You'll get the how hot is your product checklist, the margin calculator, the live monthly calls with me, by the way. The next one is this coming Friday, the December 4th. And the beauty of this is that when you get the online, go through the online classes, you're not alone, because you can jump on with me and bring your questions each month. And I'm there for you to answer your questions so you don't get stuck. You have a place to go to get questions so you can get on and keep forging ahead. And then, of course, the list of factories and resources in the US and abroad, by the way. So right now what I'm offering to you is my entire system. If you buy them separately is $11.91. You can see on my website that I have a special for $994 for all three. Today, as part of this webinar, I'm giving you the entire, this is so crazy, I'm giving you the entire thing for $94. You're gonna save $900. So all three programs are here, all the videos. It's like over 30 hours of intense content for you. Helpful, really walks you through the steps. You see the success that my students have had. You saw at the beginning, the people that are using my programs are nailing it. They are getting out there. Their products are hitting the big box stores. They're getting their products crowdfunded. And then you'll get the bonuses that I just mentioned as well. So what I want to do is I just want to stop sharing the screen for just a moment, and then I'm going to jump into the last thing I'm going to jump into. I know we've got so much. The last thing I jump into is I am going to go back and give you those 7 tips for getting into retail stores in just a minute, but I want to post this for you really quickly. So let me just jump over. Yikes, I hope I don't. Let's see. Here we load it and display. You should see it displayed now. You can grab that for a one-time payment now of $94. You'll get immediate access to everything that I just mentioned. I'm also going to just drop this link, hold on one quick second, into the chat in case you're having problems seeing the display. You should see the display. Let me know if you see it or if you're having any issues, but I am going to also pop this into, there you go. It's in the, you should see a message from me that just popped along the top that has the direct link to the shopping cart so you can take advantage. This is available for this webinar. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to jump into the end of the presentation, which is about the last, here we go, good, we're still sharing. So hopefully, let me know if you're having problems seeing that link. I think we should be good to go though. Let me just say good, someone just write back to me and say good. Okay, so then after that, I'm going to do right now the 7 tips. And then we're going to jump in and I'm going to answer your questions. I'm going to just go through and go through as many as possible. All right. So, and you can ask me questions about this deal also, but this is for this webinar. You're here and that's awesome. And I want you to benefit. These will walk you through these steps, give you the resources and tools broken down in an easy, simple to follow format. And I think you will love these programs. Okay. So let's jump into the next section. Whoops, let's click here. Okay, here we go. Okay, so let's talk about the retail buyer for a moment. I know this is a little blurry, but the retail buyer is worried about one thing, and yes, you'll see it in the eyeball. Money. They don't care how clever and cool or whatever your product is or how hard you work to bring it to market. They care about money. So this is really important that you understand how, before you contact retailers, that you understand what's in it for them. So I want you to just be aware of the way in which you're thinking as you're approaching retailers. So one of the things, tip number 1 is proven results. So one thing that Ann did when she was trying to get into the big box stores, which she is in now currently, Babies R Us, and she is in Sam's Club. And one of the things she was trying to do is how do you get into those big stores, because they want to see that you have a proven track record. Well, one really great thing you can do is you can go to daily deal websites like Zulily. I'm sure you see it, the steals.com. You can, these types of websites. I think I'm jumping ahead. That's another one of my tips. But you want to prove sales ahead of time so that when you're contacting the retailers, in that subject heading, you can give something juicy like sold 300 units in 3 hours, which is exactly what Ann did. Ann was able to sell those. She sold 300 units in 3 hours. She put that in her subject heading, and bam, she got an immediate meeting with Babies R Us, and she's fully distributed in Babies R Us stores and sold online at Babies R Us. The other thing is tip number 2 is you want to take the risk away from the retailer. If they're taking a chance with you, you want to make it so easy for them to buy for you. So say in the first shipment, for example, that you'll give them free shipping, that you will offer the product on consignment. I got my foot into many stores this way, or they were no, no, no. And I said, okay, well, why don't I give it to you on consignment? So there's no risk to you. You pay nothing. I even sometimes would let them sell my product and not even get paid for it. I know that sounds crazy, but that's how much I wanted some of these big accounts, okay? And I'd say, okay, this is the deal. I'll give you this product and I will take a loss on it. If you sell it successfully, your promise to me is that you will reorder from me and restock with my product. So I got my foot in the door so many times doing things like this. Now, you can also do it differently. Let's say you can't afford to do that, and trust me, I get that. Your product's too expensive or you just can't take that kind of loss. Then what you could do is put it on consignment and they only pay you if the product sells. If it does not sell, then you say, okay, I will pay for shipping to ship it back, or you can give it to charity or whatever you decide to do with your product, but make it super easy for them. Now, you want to offer them other discounts like, okay, you buy 2 cases, you get the 3rd one free. Start thinking like that. What's the thing you can give them that would make them go, wow, that's worth it to try it, okay? I also did something where, a lot of people will charge you extra for using a credit card because the credit card companies charge you around 5%. I would add another extra 5% and say, hey, you pay for the credit card today, then I will give you an extra 5% off. And that sometimes was enough. So offer all these different things to get them to say yes, and you'll be amazed at how there's one of these things on this list is going to get them going, okay, yeah, I'll try it, and then you get your foot in the door. Tip number 3 is peer influence. So let's say you meet one buyer, your buyer really likes it, but they're not the decision maker because they've been switched to a different category, or you've contacted the wrong buyer, like they're the baby buyer and your thing should be in automotive. Then you would not just say, when the buyer says, sorry, I like the idea, or I like your product, but this is not going to work, I'm not the buyer. Don't let them off the hook. That's your moment to seize. You immediately say, great, I'm so glad you like it. Could you please introduce me to the appropriate buyer? That is your moment you have to grab a hold of because they're on the inside, and having that person introduce you via email is huge. Or even if you're on site, I had a lot of meetings where I'd be going into drugstore chains and grocery store chains, and if it wasn't the right buyer, then I would ask them to physically introduce me. So it's usually online on email, but if not, always ask to be introduced to the appropriate person if that person's not the right person. Tip number 4, share past and future media hits. So make sure, and that's a picture of me with my girls. Now, my daughters are turning 14 and 12 on December 2nd. They have the same birthday, 2 years apart. And I can't believe that was it just feels like I blinked. Anyway, but be sure and share with your buyers the past and future media hits. So if you have any media hits at all, make sure to tell the buyers about it. Or if you are going to be featured, let's say in an upcoming TV segment or magazine, be sure and tell them. They want to know that you're helping to get publicity for your product. They want to know that. Tip number 5 is really important. Show them how your product fits into a major trend or national event. I can't tell you enough how important this is. You may think it's obvious, but they will not be thinking about your product. They will not be thinking about how it fits. They're crazy busy. They're stressed out individuals. They have to make all these, they have to hit their numbers. They're just not thinking in the same way. So do this for them. Think about where yours fit in. So with the Tidy table covers, this is elastic. It fits like a shower cap on the kitchen table. I would position it perfect for pumpkin carving, perfect for Easter egg dyeing, perfect for Christmas cookies. It was made of food-safe plastic, so you could roll your dough right onto the table. So make it really easy for them. If you have something that fits into autism awareness, or if you've got whatever, if you are an expert in allergies, and it fits into your product, fits into some sort of peanut awareness. I don't know what all the things are, but you get my point. That you are able to, to do that for them, then it makes it easier for them to think about how your product fits in. Sales reps. Sales reps are extensions of yourself. It is not easy to get sales reps when you are a new product. So the important thing is I'm going to give you two little side tips. One thing is to ask retailers that you're talking to who their favorite sales reps are, and if they would be willing to make an introduction. That's if your conversation with your retailer is going well, they said yes, they want to take your product, then the next logical step would be for you to be introduced to a sales rep. Sales reps will rep not just your product, but a number of products at one time. And it also, they often have leverage and clout because they've been showing products to retailers, for a very long time, and they're able to get meetings that you might not get otherwise. Okay, I talked about this a little bit, but tip number 7 is don't overthink it. Just follow the retailer's process. So like at steals.com, this form is so simple to fill out. I jumped on there. You can see the link right there. It was so simple to fill out. So these daily deal sites are a great way to get a large number of sales in a short period of time, and then you can use those numbers to help attract bigger retail stores. And this is just the bonus tip. Those of you who have taken my classes, you know what this is. This is the Wow Factor email. And by the way, in the classes, the complete product launch system that I just told you about, I'm selling to you today for $94, I provide the template for this Wow Factor email that you can send out to retail buyers. Essentially, the different parts are that you would put a sizzling subject heading, like sold 300 units in 3 hours. Check it out. Okay, then you want to have a product demo. You know how QVC and the Home Shopping Network sell millions and millions and millions of dollars of product. It's because they're doing show and tell. People love to watch video. So be sure include a product demonstration of your video. Keep it short. I say 2 minutes. Now, apparently, people are on videos for like 30 seconds. So keep it under a minute for sure. Try to. And then also you want to include the profit. How much margin are they going to make? Remember that simple model? They want to, and by the way, that margin calculator that I include will help you come up with all your different margins for how much you can make and how much the retailer make. And if you throw in a distributor, how much the distributor needs to make in order to figure out your pricing models. But that's an aside. What's really important though is if they can make 50% margin, that's what they expect to make. And you can say that right in the email. And then you want to give them incentive to buy now. Like you buy 2 cases, you get the 3rd one free. Okay, so that's what you want, these short little emails. One thing, of course, you want to also say at the very beginning is that just a 1-sentence description of what your product is. Okay? All right, with that said, woo! We just went through a lot of information. So I'm jumping over to the chat right now to answer questions, all right? And I hope that you're taking advantage of this amazing offer of the complete product launch system. Oh, cool. Melody says, tomorrow's courses are truly substantial. I've taken all of them. Woo! This is unsolicited. I know. Thank you so much, Melody. Awesome. I spent way more money previously, but more chock full of information, more than any other course I've taken. Oh, thank you so much, Melody. I really appreciate you saying that. That's awesome. Okay, great. Okay, and Michelle, your website is awesome, and so is the deal. Yay, Michelle. Oh, that's so nice. Okay, the time capsule says, what company sold 303 hours on Zulily? Anne Hurley. She's the one that I showed at the very beginning. I'll show you right now. Let's see. Whoa, this is, don't get dizzy looking at my slides. Let's see, right there. Love Chicken Booster Seats. She did. She sold 300 units in 3 hours. And then that was all she put in the subject heading. And she followed the wow factor email template. She put in her video link, and bam, she heard back. And you'll have to tell me if I'm wrong, but I know it was less than an hour. She heard back from the Babies R Us buyer in less than an hour. It was amazing. And then she got a meeting. She flew to the actual in-person meeting. So, okay, let me jump on here, and because I need to jump. Oh, there we go. Cool. Okay, now I can really see your questions more easily. CJ, forced to reconnect over 7 times, missed a lot. Oh dear. No, I don't know what's up. I think it might be your connection. You will get the replay since you registered. So on the replay, it should be exactly like the live event. So you'll be fine. Okay. So, all right, let me go down to the bottom because I know you started putting these in early. Okay, Christine. I have a product that probably can't be patented and could easily be manufactured by many different companies. I would like to somehow sell my idea. I have a very homemade prototype. Any specific ideas? Okay, so this is the deal. It's very hard to license your product to another company if you can't protect it, because what's in it for them? If it can be easily knocked off, then it's going to be hard for them too. You see, so when you license, that is a time where you want to have a provisional patent application or some sort of protection, trademarks, something, because it could easily, they can license it and it could be knocked off the week later. So what I have done, because my products have been knocked off, is I just put my head down and completely focus on marketing and sales, like aggressive. Really focused on marketing and sales, because that way you can get it out to the market. You can do some fun contests on using social media. You can get people involved, and just, you have to build up your brand and get people thinking about your version of this. Like, they want the original version, and it's because it's so cool. They want yours rather than the knockoffs. So but it's really hard to sell or license the idea to someone else if there's no way for protection of any kind. Okay, Serenity, I won't be able to stay the whole time. Could you provide us with a recording? Yes. So the replay will be sent out. You'll see it. I think you should probably get it within 2 hours or less after this live event. Okay. And time capsule. So with Intercepts, can you go into local malls and gather data from consumer feedback? Do you offer anything for free to get their input? How do you make sure you don't get kicked out of the mall? So yeah, I mean, I did it in an outdoor setting. So it's not like, nothing bugs me more when somebody's standing there with a clipboard. It makes you uncomfortable, doesn't it? So it doesn't have to be like this formal thing. My suggestion is, like me at the ice cream store, or it wasn't even at the ice cream store. We're outside and we were sitting outside, beautiful day, and then all of a sudden I'm looking around at 20 parents who are perfect with the kids running around. So that's the thing. You don't want to be like with a clipboard standing there, because that makes people feel really uncomfortable. So just go hang out somewhere and just, just say, hey, be more casual and just say, hey, my name is, time capsule, I don't know what your name is, but hey, my name is, Sally, and I'm developing a new product, and I really would love to get your feedback. Would you mind just answering a couple questions for me? And just make it really non-confrontational. And if they say no, then just say totally fine. Like, be really nice to people. And but you know, I find that people are pretty willing to help you out if you say, you know, I'm developing this product, I really would love to get your feedback. It's not like you've got this clipboard and you're, you know, you're trying to get them to sign something, right? So just, you know, just it's in your approach. It's the way in which you do it. You just say it's something I'm doing, and I would just so appreciate just a few minutes of your time. So I hope that helps. Kimberly, I have a new use for an existing product in a different market. Private labeling is available. What's the best way to approach to take? Should I contact the manufacturer? Is a non-disclosure agreement recommended? I have photos to demonstrate the new use. Okay, there are a lot of questions in there, Kimberly. So it's complicated. I'll just tell you that. If someone else, first of all, you got to know what's up in terms of their protection, their legal protection, right? Because if they've patented their product and you come in, you have a different use of that product, you know, you got to make sure you're not infringing on their product. Even if it's for a different market, you've got to make sure you're not infringing. Okay, if you contact the manufacturer, they may not be very appreciative either. They may already have new developments going on, right? They may already be, you know, their next version, their next, you know, 3.0 version may include some of the bells and whistles or features that you are suggesting. And they're not going to want to pay you on that. And no, they will not sign a non-disclosure agreement. It would be of no benefit to them. I want you all to be thinking about what's in it for other people. It would be of no value to them to sign a non-disclosure, because then that would prevent them from, you know, from what they're already doing, and they own the product. So, you know, you've got to really tread lightly here, because you don't want to get into any sort of difficult situation. Now, what's interesting about trademarking, which I know you're not really asking, but I just want to just bring this up, is that, you know, you can have, you know, you can trademark and be in different categories. So I just want you to know that if I'm selling, I've got like, let me think, I'm just trying to make it up. Let me say I have a lip gloss, and the lip gloss is a beauty supply, and it's called Lemon Burst. And then you've got a lemonade product that's you know, lemonade that you're going to want to sell to Target, and it's also called Lemon Burst. You actually can coexist because you've trademarked Lemon Burst in different categories, which is pretty interesting. So just wanted to throw that little nugget out there if that helps you. But with regards to what you're talking about, you have to be very careful not to be treading on somebody else's turf. And so I have to just say that, because you really want to be careful, because you don't want to be sued. I hope I answered your question. Okay, Marnita, what's the best way to find a great manufacturer without wasting time and money? Okay, one of the best ways, first of all, in my class, you saw that I have a list of real resources in the Complete Product Launch System. That thing is priceless, because it is filled with factories that have been recommended by my clients and students who have gone to great pains to find those factories. So that's one way. The other way for you to do your research is to get onto Alibaba.com. It's overseas, it's in China, and you can go and search what your product is, find factories there that are producing similar items. Then you contact them. There's a way for you to push a button and it says contact, and you ask them the questions that you need to ask them with regards to production, and if they could make your item. And I have a whole, also in my course under manufacturing, I have a whole list of questions you should be asking your manufacturer so that you are thorough, including if you make this item, you know, what if something goes wrong, what are we, you know, what are the steps that will be taken? Meaning, let's say the production went wrong, and you know, all the backer cards were printed incorrectly. How is that going to be handled? Well, you need to figure that kind of thing out ahead of time. You don't want to receive that 10,000 units and all your backer cards have fallen off. By the way, that's happened to me. But my factory and I had talked about this ahead of time, and they went and did another run for me at no additional charge. These are the little things you need to be thinking about ahead of time, okay? All right, and Dolly, what is the formulator again to determine the production cost? Or the form, oh, sure, yeah. Okay, let me go back here to here, and if I escape, hopefully I will not, oh gosh, yeah, I always worry about losing you. Okay, hold on one quick second, I'll just show you the model. Again, you're gonna get the replay and you can really spend time with this, but this is a simple model that I actually use. So this is for real. Here it is. All right, so the model is that your production cost should be 20% of your retail price. So whatever your suggested retail price is, that's where you go here, you divide it by 5 to get 20%, and that should equal your production cost. So in this case, $10 is the retail price. Okay, we're dividing it by 5, not this $5. This is for just so you know what the wholesale price is. Let's ignore this right now. You take your $10, you divide it by 5, and it equals your estimated production cost. So your production cost should be $2 or less in this case. So you just take your whatever, let's say it's $20, $30, whatever it is, and divide it by 5, and that will be 20%. That should be your close to your estimated production cost. And even getting lower than that is highly recommended. But I'm just to give you a ballpark figure of what we're talking about. Okay, I hope that helps. Okay, Diane, just I need to know if I should have a business plan before presenting. To what? To read? I'm sorry. I know you've got several different messages going on, so I'm not sure what that's referring to. It's always a good idea to have a business plan. I co-authored a book with Jim Horan called The One-Page Business Plan, and it is awesome. It's a template workbook that really helps you, because nothing's worse than looking at a business plan that is blank. And it's a one-page plan, which means that anyone can write one page. It's fill in the blank. And so you can have a business plan, I kid you not. You could have a draft within an hour by following the process. And I found by doing my one-page plan, it blew the socks off of people. When I went to investors, when I went to bankers to get funding, like people were blown away by my totally organized one-page plan. That does not include financials. It's just a plan that talks about what you're building in terms of your vision, what your mission is as a company, what your objectives are, which are your measurable results. In other words, what are you going to sell each quarter, for example? Are you going to sell 100 units to 5 retail stores? Like, that's what an objective is. It's very specific with numbers, so you can track your results. Then you're going to have strategies which explain how you're going to achieve your objectives. And then the action plans. What are you doing to get these things done? So that's the one-page business plan process. It's totally doable. You can grab that on Amazon. So with that said, I hope that helps. And Diane, you also said I have an office product just patented. Woohoo! Good for you. Awesome. Okay, and Cheryl, I have a patent. I need to find a wholesale company to purchase my materials, to produce my product. I have a source where they buy to get the cost down even more. Okay, I'm not sure what the question is there. So you're looking for a wholesale company. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to source materials is what it sounds like. Well, one of the most cost-effective ways to do that is to do that overseas. And you need bedding, yeah. So I would totally do that overseas. I'd jump on Alibaba and type in bedding, whatever materials you're wanting to use, and that is a source. Also, as I said, in the Complete Product Launch System, I have a whole list of resources that do include soft goods, hard goods, soft goods, formulators. I have it all there. Okay. Christine, my product is essentially paper. Would this be a hard good? Interesting. It is hard. It's a little bit different, right? Because you're not having to create a mold, which is a steel mold that you use for the computer-aided drawing. But yeah, it is a hard good because it's not liquid. It's what, you know, formulation. It's not needing a formulator. So yeah, you could call that a hard good. Usually hard goods are plastic and metal and wood, things like that. But in paper may be, you know, a hard good, but it's really can stand alone. So Lou, would you say it is more beneficial to purchase a 3D printer and do it yourself or hire each time you update? That is a choice you have to make. I would not, I think 3D printers are the coolest things ever, but personally, that is not something I would spend my time on. I would do it. I would outsource that. My whole focus is on marketing and sales, right? Because once you produce the thing, you need to get the word out. You need to be able to sell it like crazy. So I would not get bogged down if this is your thing, if you're like an engineering type and that's your thing. I'm not going to tell you not to do it because that would save you money probably over time. It just depends. That's just not something that I would spend my resources on. But again, we all have to make our own choices. Doug, I am loving the questions, by the way. I'm so excited that you're here with me. Okay, Doug, I agree with you with regards to getting patents, getting a provisional first, and use the extra money you have saved from not filing a formal patent and test marketing. Yes. If your product is making you money, then file a patent. Good. Yes. Love it, Doug. We're on the same page. I totally am with you. And if it even makes sense to file a patent, right? Because sometimes it's just not even worth it. I mean, I've talked to a lot of seasoned inventors, and we finally got to the point where it wasn't worth it unless you have something that's so clearly patentable that would prevent people from making it. I'll give you one good example of that, and that is Boogie Wipes. The moms who did Boogie Wipes, which is it's a wipe that has saline solution, which is a salty solution that helps, when you wipe the baby's nose or anybody's nose, it breaks up the mucus. And they were able to patent the saline solution in the wipe that prevented everyone else from doing that. So that was a powerful patent. Like Kimberly-Clark's, they couldn't put saline solution because it was so specific to their product. They make every kind of wipe imaginable, but they couldn't add saline. In that case, when you have something so specific that would prevent others from making it, that is a core component of your product, then you definitely might want to consider a patent. But for most of our products, I mean, they can just be easily designed around. Okay, we have 4 more minutes, so I'm just going to keep plowing ahead answering your questions, and so keep throwing them out at me. Okay, Kimberly, where would I submit an idea for mom inventors to consider? You know what? I'm not doing that anymore. So this is the thing, Kimberly. You can do this. You are seeing, through my classes and courses, you will be able to do this. As you can see from my students and Melody, which is so sweet. Melody, I didn't even know that you were here, and so that was so exciting. Melody chimed in. I really do give you every single thing I can give you to walk you through the steps. And as you can see, my clients have been knocking it out of the park. And now this is proven over a decade. So Kimberly, you can do this, and it's really, the steps are really spelled out clearly, and you're able to, I know you can do it because it's other people's have led the way for you. Okay, time capsule. What were all those contribution crowdfunding platforms? Oh, sure. Okay, here. Okay, let me see if I can escape. Okay, let me see right over here. First of all, the two that here we go. Okay, let's scroll down quickly. I know we're almost out of time here. Here we go. All right, so Kickstarter is what my last 2 students have participated in and successfully knocked it out of the park. Is Kickstarter.com and Indiegogo also. Now, there's a nuance that I think is really interesting. Again, I don't have time to go into this. I do in the complete product launch system. You will hear me talk about every single one of these. But with Kickstarter, I think just to give you a point of differentiation, are we over time? Oh, we've got 2 minutes. Kickstarter is, I believe, and they may have changed the rules, but what I know as of now is that if you do not, let's say you want to raise $20,000, which is exactly what Michelle just did last week. If you want to raise that money, if you do not hit your financial goal, then you do not get to keep the money. With Indiegogo, if you have a $20,000 goal and you only make $10,000, you still get to keep the $10,000. Of course, there are fees that you have to pay when you raise the money. You'll pay fees to Kickstarter. You'll pay fees to all of them. But the thing with Indiegogo is that you get to keep the money regardless. Now, it's really interesting. So anyway, they each have their own little special thing that's different about them. And so you can just go and check them out. Like I know Rocket Hub has like a university that they have a lot of ways to help you succeed with your crowdfunding. And I also know that they're associated with A&E television cable network, so that if you do hit your funding, then you get an opportunity to go on TV. But that's not reason enough. You really need to go and research each one and see which one is a fit for your product type. That's what I want you to be thinking about, is your product type and which one makes the best fit for you. Okay, so I am going to answer one more question. Cheryl, what do you mean when you mentioned your patent was knocked out? Oh, yeah, my patent was not knocked out. It was knocked off. Well, that's a term that's used when you put a product out into the market. And I'm going to just jump back here on camera now because we're just at the end, and I'll answer your question real quick. Let me see, just because I want to see you right here. Hopefully that'll take me right back. Yeah, there we are. Okay, so knocked off means that you put your product out on the market. And I had a patent, I had a strong utility patent, and I'd paid over $5 grand for it. And then a big company came and they designed around my patent, because patents are public information. So you can just read the patent. The company could read the patent and see how they could design around my patent. So they were able to design around it, and then they put the product out, and they're a huge company. So they had tons of resources, right, when it was just me. So that's what it means to have your patent knocked off, meaning that another company has come and done it. So that's why after all these years, I provisional patents, yes, because that's not a real patent. That is just a placeholder for 12 months in the patent office that gives you the right after 12 months to sign up for a utility patent. And that's a year for you to get really aggressive about doing your market research, making sure that customers or consumers want your product, and that you feel really solid, like you've done your homework, you've figured out your production costs, they're low enough, you figured out compared to your retail price, if there's enough money left over for you. So you've done your homework up to that point. Then you decide whether or not it's like Boogie Wipes, where they were able to patent that saline solution that really gave them the edge above the big corporations. That's what you want to be thinking about. Otherwise, there's thousands of products on the market that aren't patented at all, and they are just really aggressive about their marketing and sales. So with that said, I have enjoyed our session. I cannot believe we have gone for 90 minutes. My gosh, I feel like it was just like a snap. I don't know about you, but that's how I felt. I'm hoping that you got something out of this session, that there's something that you were just like, whoa, you didn't know before. You're able to grab some information. Now you're going to be able to take action immediately. I hope that you'll take advantage of this awesome sale that I'm giving you. I mean, this is serious content for you, step by step, broken down, easy for you to digest so that you can be successful in getting your product to market. So with that said, thank you so much for joining me today. It has been a pleasure to spend this time with you. Take care, everyone. Bye.